Okay, so get this. You ready for this? We're diving into this story, and it sounds like straight out of a horror movie, but it's all too real.
Oh, I am ready.
All right, so picture this. 1965, Jaboticabal, Brazil. We've got this family, the Ferrer family, normal people just living their lives.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, their house, it becomes the target of these really strange, violent attacks.
Really?
And get this, the main suspect is their 11-year-old daughter, Maria.
What? The daughter's attacking the home?
That's what they think, yeah.
Wow.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So what makes this story so fascinating, I think, is that it's not your typical haunted house story, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's more about the clash between, like, what we think is rational and then what's totally unexplainable.
Right.
And, like, how our beliefs, you know, they shape how we see things like this, these events.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's start with the attacks themselves. And we're not talking about just, like, spooky noises or anything.
Yeah.
This is, like, full-on poltergeist activity. Bricks, for example. Like, they just start moving on their own, flying through windows, smashing into walls.
Bricks. Really? Wow.
Yeah. It's intense. The family obviously is terrified, totally confused, just trying to figure out what is going on.
Yeah. I can imagine that would be pretty scary.
For sure, right. And here's the crazy part. Even the police got involved.
The police.
Imagine that, like calling in the cops on a ghost,
Yeah.
right? But the even crazier part is that the police, they actually saw these bricks moving, like landing right at their feet.
Oh, no way.
I know, right? And there's even a newspaper report that backs up the officer's account, so this wasn't just some made-up story.
Wow. So this really happened.
It really happened, yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so we've got these flying bricks, we've got terrified witnesses, even the police are freaked out.
Yeah.
So at this point, the family, they turn to a local priest who performs an exorcism.
Okay.
You would think that would take care of it, right?
Yeah, you would think.
But instead, things get even worse.
What? No way. After an exorcism.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow, what happened?
So this is where this guy, João Volpe, he enters the story.
Okay.
He was a neighbor of the Ferrer family,
Okay.
and he was a dentist, but like he was really into spiritism.
Spiritism, that's like, what, communicating with spirits, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It was actually pretty popular in Brazil at the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it emphasizes like reincarnation, talking to spirits, and the idea that spirits can, you know, mess with our world for good or for bad.
So it's not necessarily all good spirits.
Exactly, right. So Volpe, with all his spiritist beliefs, he comes into the picture and he's convinced that Maria, the little girl, is like the key to everything.
Okay, so he thinks she's causing it.
Well, he thinks she's connected to it somehow. He sees her playing with what she calls her imaginary friends,
Right.
but he doesn't think they're actually imaginary.
Oh, so he thinks they're real spirits.
Exactly. He thinks Maria is like a natural medium, you know, like she's attracting spirits without meaning to, kind of like a conduit for their energy.
Oh, that's interesting, but isn't spiritism, like, supposed to be about good spirits?
Well, yeah, usually it focuses on like the benevolent side, you know, like helping humanity evolve.
Right.
So maybe at first, Volpe thought he was dealing with like spirits that just needed some guidance, not necessarily evil ones.
I see, so he's coming at it from a different angle.
Exactly. It adds a whole different layer to the story, right?
Yeah.
This cultural element, the belief system.
Yeah, for sure.
So Volpe, he steps in and he suggests that Maria, she should stay at his house for a while.
At his house?
Yeah, thinking it might give the Ferrer family a break, you know.
Okay, I guess that makes sense.
And guess what?
It works.
It works. The attacks stop.
Totally stop, at the Ferrer's house at least.
So it's like whatever was happening, it was tied to her somehow.
Right. But here's the twist.
There's a twist.
Yeah, just when you think everything's okay.
The paranormal activity, it doesn't just go away. It follows Maria to Volpe's house,
Oh no, so now his house is haunted.
basically.
Wow, and what happens there? Is it the same stuff or does it get worse?
Oh, it definitely escalates, and that's where this story gets really, really creepy.
Oh no. Okay, I am ready for this.
All right, so buckle up.
So now we're talking like not just things moving around. This is like full-on attacks on Maria.
What do you mean? Like, what kind of attacks?
Well, one time this heavy sofa, it like pinned her against the wall.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was like it moved on its own.
It's terrifying.
And then another time, Maria almost suffocated in her sleep.
What?
It was really scary stuff. Definitely not just mischievous spirits anymore, you know? Like, this was something darker, something way more powerful.
This is intense. So what did Volpe do?
Well, he realized he needed help, like serious help. So he decides to call in, like, a specialist, someone who really knew about the paranormal.
Oh, okay. Who did he call?
He called this guy named Chico Xavier.
Chico Xavier.
Yeah, he was like a household name in Brazil, almost a legend. He was a psychic medium, like he was famous for channeling spirits and writing books and stuff.
Wow, so he calls in this like celebrity psychic.
Right, and Xavier was a huge deal in Brazilian spiritism. He was like really influential, even controversial, but there's no denying he was a major figure in the movement.
Wow, so Volpe brings in the big guns. So what did this Xavier guy, what did he think was going on?
Okay, so this is where the story takes like a really dark turn.
Okay.
So Azir, he examines Maria and he says that, get this, she was a witch in a past life.
A witch?
Yeah, and that she had hurt people in that life.
Oh, wow.
And now the people she wronged, they were back for revenge. That's why all these attacks were happening, he said.
Hold on, so he's saying this 11-year-old girl, she's responsible for all this terrifying stuff because of something she supposedly did in another life.
That's what he said, yeah. And it makes you wonder, like, what kind of impact that had on Maria.
I mean, that's a crazy thing to tell anyone, let alone a little girl who's already terrified.
Right, like imagine being a child, dealing with all this crazy stuff, and then being told it's your fault because of something you don't even remember doing.
It's heartbreaking, poor girl.
Yeah.
So what happened then? Did they just like accept this explanation? What did they do?
Well, Volpe, he was a devoted spiritist, so he took Xavier's words seriously. He really believed Maria was being targeted by these spirits, and he wanted to help her find peace, break the cycle.
So what did he do? Like more exorcisms or something?
Not exactly. He turned to, like, the core of spiritism. Prayer, compassion, spiritual development, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
He got a group of people together, they formed a circle around Maria, and they just prayed for her.
Oh, wow.
They weren't trying to, like, banish the spirits or anything, but they were trying to help them understand that revenge wasn't the answer.
That's an interesting approach. Did it work?
No, unfortunately not. The attacks, they kept happening, objects still flew around, the violence continued.
Oh, man, poor Maria.
It was like they were trapped in this horrible cycle with no way out.
So sad. So
Yeah.
what happened to her?
Well, it ends tragically. When she was 13, Maria, she committed suicide.
Oh, no, how?
She mixed insecticide with soda and drank it.
Oh my God, that's awful. You gotta think, all that fear, that pressure, that lack of any solution, it must have been too much for her.
It's hard to say for sure, but it makes you think about the consequences of the things we say, especially to young people. Even if Xavier meant well, his words, they could have had a huge impact on Maria.
Absolutely, it's a really sobering thought.
Yeah.
What happened after Maria died? Did the attacks stop? Did anyone, question what Xavier had said?
Well, the information's kind of scarce after that. We don't know much about what happened to the Ferrer family or Volpe.
Really?
Yeah, it's like the story just kind of disappears after Maria's death. It's kind of like a ghost story itself, But Xavier, he went on to be even more famous in Brazil.
Really?
Wrote even more books and was even nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize back in 1981.
A Nobel Peace Prize, wow.
Yeah, he was a big deal in spiritism until he died in 2002.
It's crazy, right? You have Maria's story, so tragic and full of mystery.
Right.
And then you have Xavier, celebrated, almost worshipped by people.
Yeah, it's a strange contrast.
Did he ever, talk about Maria's case after?
Not that I know of, never really revisited it or talked about how his words might have affected her.
Wow, that's kind of telling, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. This whole story, it really makes you think.
It does, about the power of belief, how much words matter, and how when things can't be explained, we have to be really careful about how we interpret them.
Definitely. It's all about critical thinking, even with something like the spirit world. You
Yeah.
know, we have to question what we think we know, be open to different ideas, and realize that we don't have all the answers.
It's like even when we're trying to help, things can go wrong. Especially with kids, they're so vulnerable.
Absolutely. And in Maria's case, it was just devastating. Her story is like a warning,
Yeah.
to be humble, be understanding, and always think about the impact of what we say and do.
We started this deep dive talking about a haunting in Brazil,
Right.
but we ended up exploring so much more. Spiritism, faith, doubt, how we understand the unknown. It's a lot to process.
It is. And in the end, we have more questions than answers. Was Maria really haunted by spirits? Or was it something else? Was she just a scared kid caught in the middle of everyone's beliefs? How did culture and personal biases shape what happened? These are questions that stay with you. They make you think about what it means to be human,
It's a story that stays with you, for sure. And for everyone listening, we want to hear what you think. What do you make of Maria's story? Share your thoughts with us on social media. Let's keep this conversation going.